So the theory of something being impossible is impossible because anything really is truly impossible. Because anything really truly is possible. Um, and there's so many ways to look at this in so many different perspectives. But one of the things that you can actually think about of how you like, because you may be thinking, well, how is anything possible, and how is that even possible? Think of it like this. This is how I think about it. Especially when I first started my company, I only had one customer for about 2 months, and I just did a lot of deep thinking about it. And so, considering my one customer bought from me one time, within 2 months, I had doubts. I did. I really did have doubts that, it's just one person buying from me. You know what I mean? It's not like a whole customer list of people. Um, but I thought to myself, if there's one person that would buy from me and like my services, there has to be 1,000 more of that one person um, that will, potentially buy from me and conduct business with me. And that's how I thought about it. And ever since then, I've been growing my customer base, which is super, super exciting, actually. So, you just always got to figure, and it just makes sense that just because one person likes your idea or one person supports you, think that there's 1,000 copies of that one person. And if you want to go broad, go say 1,000,000 people, because obviously, if there's one person that has an interest in something, there's more likely going to be another person that has the same interest as that original person into the same thing. And that's what really kept me in the game, from really not quitting my business. Now, obviously, my business is not a big business still. I have a lot to work to do. I have a lot of things that I have to learn from, obviously, and it's just a process and a journey. It's fun. It's risky. It's I don't know. It's a lot of things for sure. Um, but you know, saying something is impossible, that's impossible. And you may be thinking, well, why? How is saying something that, say that something that is impossible be possible? How is anything that you say, oh, well, that's impossible, but it's really possible? Well, here's my theory. So, if you could think a thought, anything's possible because a thought is possible. If you have a thought and you release it, you speak it out loud or whatever, it's possible. Um, Now I know there's a lot of things going on in the world right now in terms of racism, and it's always been around. Uh, but think of it like this, and this is how I think. So when I see a war movie, say example for example, Private Ryan, Saving Private Ryan was one of the most best nominated war movies, most accurate nominated war movies in the history of filmmaking in terms of war movies. When you look at that film, when I looked at that film, the first battle, Omaha Beach, that actually really happened. The Americans were being just bombarded by bullets. People were dying left and right, and the objective was to get up across the beach and get up to make headway and to take over the cliff side and take over the land and the enemy territory to get behind enemy lines and defeat them in that battle. Even though there's so many people that have died during that battle and so many people that were scared that still lived through that battle, they made it up there. They just kept pushing despite of fear. And many people have died. The Germans obviously had an advantage. They were, up on a cliff, shooting down at these people that were very vulnerable in wide open spaces. Not only that, they had to deal with mines and just explosives and everything else. But eventually they reached the top. They reached the top of the cliff and they took it over. They took captives. They killed many Nazis, and the battle was won. And so when I see movies like that, and I haven't learned this from anybody. I just realized this myself. When you take movies into account like that, um, it's the same thing with personal life, and the same thing, with your business or whatever you're doing. You can use that analogy with relationships, whatever it is, marriage, girlfriend, boyfriend, business relationships, friendships, and businesses. And I use that in all aspects of my life. Whenever I want to give up, I just remember seeing that movie because that battle actually did happen. And that's how it actually was really, that's how it happened. And because, the movie was super, super accurate in terms of that battle. Another way you could think that, anything is possible and that the thought of impossibility is false is looking at slavery. Now, with slavery, back in 1809, if you were alive then, you would not think that slavery would be abolished. You would think that slavery, black slavery specifically, now granted, slavery does happen still to this day, but in America, it's not present, far as I know. So, back then, if you were to live back then, you would never think that slavery would be solved. Or, there's still inequalities and racial inequalities and such, but slavery has been abolished in America. And so, you would never think that, it would be impossible for a black man to not be a slave. But that's not the case. That's not the case now, they're not slaves anymore, and because people fought for what they wanted. And so, the North fought the South, and, eventually it was won. And so the slaves were free, and they were free men, free women, free children, that were born into slavery. They were free. And nothing comes without a fight for something, whether it's physically, verbally, mentally, whatever it may be. Ever since I started my business, I've been fighting for it. And so far, I've actually seen, surprisingly, some really good results. It's a slow process. Entrepreneurship is definitely not for everybody. And it really isn't. It's really, really hard. But again, you can make these analogies and connect it with, not just with business, but everyday life. Going to work and having a terrible boss to work for, you could just say to yourself, look, I need the money, I need to do this, and I need to pull through so I can find a better job and maybe potentially get a college degree or whatever it may be to better my life and better my quality of life. Because money brings quality of life to a certain extent. Health and lifestyle is what it brings. Now, true love, it's not driven by money. Love can be driven by money. You can buy love with money, but it's not true love. It's fake. And it's just, I love using analogies because it really just brings a whole other perspective on what I'm trying to get my message across, what I'm trying to say here. Just really seriously, you just need to think of things that are. I believe that many people, there's so many hidden messages in movies that people don't really, take account of. They just watch the movie because they enjoy the movie, and that's it. But there's more to it. There's so many movies out there that really display what life's like, and if you could see a third person's perspective on what the character's going through, which you pretty much basically are, because it's a movie, you if you really think hard enough, you'll really realize that you can implement the same values into your life as well. So that's why I think the thought of something being impossible is false. It shouldn't. It's just not accurate at all. Everything is possible. Anything's possible. I mean, I believe within our lifetime, my generation's lifetime, that we will have holograms. I know eventually we will be having space exploration. We'll colonize Mars. Many people, even now, still think it's impossible. But you can't say something is impossible that could be very, very possible, because anything is possible in the future. Um, if to say something that's impossible in the future, uh, it's like you're saying that you're a time traveler and that you've already seen the future and you already know what's to come. So it's just perspective and mindset, and it's very healthy. It's very healthy. I think this is a very healthy thing to talk about, and you know, just use this in everyday life. Just look at things. I've just see no one's ever taught me this. I just learned this by myself. I just figured it out. It just makes sense if you really think about it. Um, to just think that way, and nothing is impossible. The internet was impossible in 1950, 1960. The internet was impossible. But now look where we are now. Cars were impossible in 1800s, 1700s, 1600s. They were thought to be impossible. They would never come because, well, you see, horses and carriages were the most popular transportation other than trains back then. And, what can replace a horse? Well, a machine. And so, therefore, I believe it was 1898 or 1899, there was the first motorized vehicle that went 5 miles an hour. And from that point on, it's evolutionized. So that's another thing, that how I look at my business. I'm small right now, and so the first car was small, and it was at a smaller speed. It could only reach 5 miles an hour. So, and look where we've come now. So every big thing does start small. Amazon started small, and now it's huge. This is cars. Like I said before, cars, they started with very few models, very few brands and such, and look at them now. I mean, there's the performance is great. I mean, we've come such a long way, and so that's how I think. And I've just developed this thinking process by myself. I don't know how I've done it, but it just makes sense. And I think you should really think this way too, because this will really help you out in life, long term and short term. Yeah, I mean, my only advice too is just to really think long term. And that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking for the future, and that's what I'm doing with my business. That's why I haven't given up yet. That's why I like to do the hard things, because pain equals growth. And I know that's an old cliche saying, but it's the truth. But yeah. So, anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope this message was kind of clear. I tried to do my best. It just makes sense. Just think about it. Nothing is impossible unless you make it impossible for yourself. Because factually, generally, if you put it in a generalistic perspective for everybody to see, it's a false accusation to say that something's impossible. But anyways, I figured I'd make this video. I just felt the need to do so. I didn't script this, obviously. I just thought of it because this is how I think. And yeah, so anyways, I'll talk to you guys soon. I hope you guys are staying safe, staying healthy and happy, and having a great summer too, wherever you are in the UK or in the US. I hope you're having a great summer, and I hope you guys are staying healthy and stuff. So anyways, guys, I'll talk to you guys soon. I gotta get to work, get to doing some work. I can't even speak right now. But yeah, I'll talk to you guys soon. I'll see you guys in the next video. You guys have a great day.